I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
So, Rutgers fans, after a back-breaking, heart-wrenching, pummel your face into the dirt loss yesterday against the in football, where Greg Schiano completely blows a timeout call against Illinois, the basketball team could not be outdone. Could not be outdone. And the Scarlet Knights go down to Kennesaw State, a nice little homecoming game that the coach set up for some of his players, and they lose 79-77, but the insult to the injury. The insult to the injury in this game is that it wasn't even as close as the final score would indicate. Rutgers got destroyed up and down the court. They were trailing by around 20 points at halftime. Just an absolute embarrassment down in Georgia today. Ace Bailey, terrible game from Ace. And look, he's a freshman. He's a freshman. He's going to have some rough games, and that's going to happen. One of the things that, going into this season, some skeptics would bring up was, there's a whole lot of hype around this team. There's a whole lot of hype. People think this team is a shoo-in for the tournament, a shoo-in to go deep into the tournament. This is going to be one of the most epic and memorable seasons in Rutgers basketball history. Why aren't we excited? Get excited. Need to be ranked. Should be ranked near the bottom of the rankings. Yada, 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 yada. We sneak in the rankings at 25, move up to 24. We will not be ranked come next week, and nor should we be ranked. The skepticism was valid. This team lacks a big man. This team is going to struggle on defense. This team is going to struggle on the boards. You're relying on two superstar freshmen, maybe a third semi-superstar freshman to get you to the promised land. And while this team will be respectable, while this team has a lot of promise, while this team has a lot of talent, there are a lot of concerns with this team. And today it reared its head. We saw glimpses against St. Peter's. We saw glimpses in the 4-game opener to go 4-0. I myself got a little carried away because it's still true, right? This team can potentially hit a shot from anywhere on the floor. This team can potentially score at will when it needs to, but some of the same problems we've seen throughout Steve Pikiell's tenure as head coach continue to rear their head with this team, just as they have with previous teams. I said that the difference with this year's iteration of the team compared to prior iterations of the team was really that this team was able to have the talent to hit shots and break droughts better than previous Pikiell teams, so we wouldn't get too far down in scoring droughts. That really wasn't the case today. And it was really brutal. Guys, if you're in here and you haven't seen me yet, please click subscribe. It's right here. We're trying to grow the channel. Click that subscribe button, help the channel grow. But the story of this game, I think, was we were absolutely dominated on the boards. Defensive, total rebounds, 54-33. 54-33. We were absolutely and utterly dominated on the boards. The last two games, I said that we were growing as far as team rebounding, and we were going to need that team rebounding in order to stay afloat in conference play and beyond. This was an out-of-conference game to a low major, and we got dominated on the boards. So much for that feel-good team rebounding. We were absolutely dominated. It's odd looking at the numbers because in three-point percentage, Rutgers was better than Kennesaw, 32% to 29%. Hit 8 3-pointers. So did Kennesaw State with a higher percentage. Field goal percentage, Kennesaw much better, 46.7%. Rutgers, 39.4% field goal percentage. Only hits 26 of 66. Kennesaw, 28 on 60 shots. 14 assists for Kennesaw, 15 for Rutgers. 7 blocks for Kennesaw State to Rutgers 3. They outblocked us, out-rebounded us, out-toughed us. And the bottom line is that our freshmen, while extremely talented, you had Dylan Harper go into the lane and go into the hole very weakly on several takes. He was underhanded, trying to get the little finger roll, thought he would get a call, did not get a call. That was brutal. Ace Bailey just struggled, and the final play of the game, we needed a 3 to win, a 2 to tie. We had 8 seconds off of 2 missed free throws and the rebound, and Ace Bailey with a really ill-advised pass, and it gets stolen, and we absolutely lose all chances of winning that game. Just brutal, 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 brutal stuff. I will say the refereeing and the officiating at the end of the game. Look, Kennesaw got in foul trouble early. So when you talk about the officiating, Kennesaw got in foul trouble early, and we got to the line, and Durkak just missing free throw after free throw. Where have we seen that before? Oh, yeah, every other Pikel coach team that we've seen has struggled with free throws at Rutgers, and this game is no different. We're on a run. I think we're down 5 or something, 7 at most. Durkak goes to the line repeatedly. Kennesaw is in early foul trouble, and we could not convert at the line and keep it close. Kennesaw eventually pulls ahead. I will say, so Ace Bailey, 1 rebound. 1 rebound. 1 rebound for Ace Bailey. 17 points. Not the worst point showing ever, but he struggled nonetheless. And I'll say, it's sad to say, but after Ace hit that awesome 3 that cut the lead down, I think, to 5, I actually got more worried than excited, because Ace hits that 3, and that's great news. You need your star player to hit that 3. He hits another big shot down the stretch. You need your star player to hit big shots down the stretch. But I worried when he hit that 3 that what it was going to do was get us out of rhythm again, and he was going to take a bad shot his next time down the floor because he's got too cocky and too excited, and I was right. Next time down the floor, he takes a terrible shot. Kennesaw comes back down. They convert. And the game gets out of hand again. But the story of this game was bad defense, domination in the paint, domination on the boards, and playing soft when you're driving to the hole. Playing soft in multiple facets of the game. And the fact is that I last year, Pike started to reimagine the way that he was going to coach basketball, given the new state of things with NIL and the recruiting and everything that occurred. And it looked like Pike was trying to convert from a tough, defense-first, hard-nosed developmental team into a floor wide open, ISO, high-scoring, high-flying team. And it certainly didn't work last year. But the idea was, and you can go back in my videos, you can go back to my commentary, because I've said it since last year. Pike is getting this team ready for the presence of these 2 very highly touted, very highly acclaimed freshmen. And it may or may not work, but it is not him. It's not him. It's not his philosophy. Now, you never turn down 2 of the best players in Rutgers history, but you need to have a plan to wed who you are as a coach and what works for your team with the guys coming in. And I was worried that if we still played loosey-goosey on offense with no real offensive philosophy or offensive identity, and on the defensive side of the ball, we weren't owning up to that Pike prowess and weren't living up to the way that Pike wants to play defense, we were going to have trouble. We had it last year because we didn't have any talent last year. And now this year, even with the talent, it's rearing its head. We are getting away from a defensive philosophy, from hard-nosed defense. These guys get beat off the dribble repeatedly. They miss assignments. And for some reason, guys go for stretches every time they play us looking like Steph Curry from beyond the arc. And it's very vexing. Lathan Somerville, 3 rebounds, 6 points, subpar game for Lathan. Agbole, 10 points, 2 rebounds. The big guys didn't show up. And the Zach Martini absentee show continues. Last game, I didn't think he even played that many minutes because I don't remember seeing him. And this time, Zach Martini plays again, but 3 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Some of his shots were just terrible. And they were from his usual good spots, but he just couldn't convert. He didn't look good throwing the ball up, and he wasn't getting it done. No one was really getting it done today, no matter how you slice it. And the fact is that this team needs a team identity and a team plan and a team philosophy, okay? And we've seen this before with Pikel teams, early in the season especially. He's mixing up the lineup so much that you don't know who is who or who's supposed to do what. And he's sending guys out there willy-nilly to run ISO, stand around, whatever they're going to do on offense. And when you hit a drought, you don't know who to give the ball to. You don't know what to do. You're completely out of answers, and you have absolutely no plan because you're just disorganized. This team, total, with all the talent, is great with individual players. But as an actual basketball team, this team is lacking an identity. And this team is lacking a plan. And this team, unfortunately, bears many of the same problems that previous Pikel teams have had, which is that they struggle away from home and out of conference games. They struggle on offense to move the ball efficiently and to find better shots. They struggle at the free throw line, especially when it counts the most. They struggle to not take boneheaded shots and to find more purposeful and smart shots in clutch situations. And they continue to let other teams dominate them from beyond the arc, which has become a trend for the last couple years with this program. Kennesaw State has guys in double figure scoring all over the floor. Miller with 16 points, 10 rebounds. Wright, 14 points. Woolley, 10 points. Cottle, 15 points. They played as a team. They moved the ball around. They found their shots. They had the momentum. They had the energy. They played tough on the defensive side of the ball. Every time Harper went to the hole or any of these guys went to the hole, they were right there. They got in foul trouble early, but we couldn't convert on the free throw, so it didn't really matter. And when they didn't get a foul called, they knocked the ball out of Harper's hands. They thwarted attempts at the rim, and they capitalized it on the other side. Now, while the officiating had Kennesaw State in trouble early in the game, the officiating towards the end of the game was abysmal. That was a joke. I'm sorry. I didn't even get to see the foul that was called on PJ Hayes right off the inbound. I don't even know. We make a shot. And the next thing you know, there's a whistle, and they're shooting two down the other end of the floor. What happened? Does somebody know what happened? Because I didn't see what happened. I didn't even get a chance to see. I didn't even think they inbounded the ball, so where was the foul? So they're shooting two off of that, which certainly harmed our momentum and the way we were playing and let them reestablish a cushion. And then the last foul, the foul on the floor off a rebound, was just, who calls a foul in that spot? And then you look at the replay, and even the announcers were saying that Williams was fouled himself. He wasn't the one doing the foul. I mean, you don't call fouls at that point of the game. Nonetheless, we get the ball with 8 seconds left, and we have a real chance to score and tie that game. And 8 seconds with the talent on this team, there's really no excuse why we don't, except that Ace Bailey makes a really ill-advised pass. Now, here's the thing, man. You could get on these freshmen, Dylan Harper, you got to go up stronger because you can't count on getting calls every time you go to the hole. Ace Bailey, you got to play better. You got to learn how to be more selective with your shots. And part of that is true, right? Ace Bailey, you're not shooting very well today. How about you help us out on the boards? You're a big presence. I've been talking about how Ace Bailey should be on the boards. Help us out on the boards. But he's got 1 rebound, and he's taken really ill-advised shots for a lot of the game. He hits a couple. He gets his points. But you got to be more of a contributor in other areas when you're not hot. You can blame the freshmen for this. But the truth is, you got to blame the coaching. Where were the substitutions? Where is the team philosophy? Where are the go-to plays and the go-to veteran players, or even the freshmen with better plays when the game is in doubt, when you need the help? Where is the identity of this team? Where is the identity other than we've got a ton of talent and we're just going to line up and beat you with, Harlem Globetrotter type plays? I don't care that Ace Bailey can hit a shot, turnaround jumper over 2 guys against a low program at home. And we can talk about it because he's going to be an NBA player next year. I don't care where they're going in the draft and how cool that is. I don't care. What I care about is what can they do for Rutgers this season, because this is the season where we actually have them. And you should have a plan other than these guys are so talented. Let's stand on the sideline and ooh and ah at what plays they can make once in a while. Where was Tyson Acuff in this game? Why? You have him. Why aren't you playing him? Where's the accountability when Dirk Hack is fouling in inopportune places and missing free throws all over the floor? Where's the substitution there? Where's the accountability when Ace Bailey is a liability on the offensive side of the floor? At times, I know he hit huge shots down the stretch. I know at any time he can blow up. I'm not naive. But where's the accountability? Where's the mix-up to get a little bit more of a controlled team out on the floor? And maybe a team that's putting forth more effort on the defensive side of the floor or has more ability on the defensive side of the floor and is going to crash the boards better. And if you don't have a big man who can crash the boards adequately, then why didn't you go out and make a better effort to get one in the offseason? Now, I'm sitting here talking as if the season's over. The season's not over. It's one loss. It's a road loss. It's a tough loss. Now, this season could certainly change trajectory if this game wakes this team up and makes them stop believing their own hype, and maybe the fan base stop believing the hype and stop talking about NBA draft order and start talking about the task at hand. Maybe in that way, this can be a blessing and this team can get its act together. But the defensive lapses, the rebounding lapses, and the issue with players who want to take the whole game onto their own shoulders and toss up ill-advised shots when they're struggling and don't know who to give the ball to or how to move the ball or how to slow it down and figure it out when they're in a drought, that's going to be a problem season long. And it needs to get resolved if they want to go anywhere. Because if you think Kennesaw State gave them trouble, wait till you get into a Big Ten gym with a Big Ten crowd, with a Big Ten big man and Big Ten forwards and a team that runs a Big Ten offense and knows how to D you up even better than Kennesaw State. What are you going to do then? Because this team is not a shoo-in for a damn thing. This team is not a shoo-in for the Final Four. This team is not a shoo-in for the Sweet 16. This team is not a shoo-in for the round of 32. This team is not even a shoo-in for the tournament until you win a conference game or a game on the road. Nothing is given. How many other teams have talented freshmen that don't go the distance? You can't get dominated by Kennesaw State. You can lose. You can't get dominated. You can't. Matt says Rutgers Athletic really needs an NIL deal and better help so fans can get discounted therapy. Yeah, we need discounted therapy for the BS that we have to go through constantly. It's absurd. KD Powers, lesson learning L. I kind of saw it happening, but at least it wasn't a blowout. Second half lineup should be the starting lineup. Yeah, the second half lineup was much better, much more effective, especially for long stretches. They were able to cut into the lead, but like I said, there were, a ton of lapses still. And there was an inability, and this is partially due to probably age, but there was an inability to capitalize and eventually finally get over the hump. We would cut the lead and then we would throw up a really ill-advised shot or make a really ill-advised move or go to the rim soft. And then when we don't get a foul call, kind of pause and let them start running the floor in the other direction. And then on the other side, you get beat off the dribble or allow somebody into the back door or give up an offensive rebound. A defensive rebound. So, they get a second shot at it. And, they're hitting threes and doing what they have to do. And they're playing as a team and they're spreading the ball. And we are completely lost because we don't know who to go to or what to do. Then when we finally turn it up later in the game and we have the press and the defensive effort has some desperation to it, we capitalize on multiple turnovers. And right then and there, the officiating is really questionable in my opinion. But you can't blame a game where we barely clawed back to even getting close. You can't blame it on the officiating, and you certainly can't blame it on the officiating when Kennesaw State was in foul trouble as early as they were and we couldn't hit free throws. That's a real problem. And that's a problem that has been evident in the Peichel era for a long time now. Now, this coach, I love what he did when he came in here. I love what he built with Geo Baker and Ron Harper Jr. I love his continuity with the coaching staff. I give him the utmost props for putting together such an epic recruiting class and putting together such a talented roster of basketball players. I give him props for getting us to the tournament and being at least bubble contenders most years that he's been here since he's hit his stride. I give him props for the one win we had. But the lack of fortitude at the end of serious games and the lack of concentration that has been present and manifested itself in the same ways over and over again. Over and over again. Since he's gotten here. Trouble at the rim, trouble finishing plays, trouble with scoring droughts, lack of organization on offense, trouble at the end of the game closing it out like against Houston. We have had those troubles for years under this coach. Now, this coach has the most talented team he's probably ever had. But they lack some of the fundamentals that he succeeded on when he first got here. Defense and rebounding and relentless effort and relentless teamwork. It seems as though as soon as these recruits were coming in at the beginning of last year, this philosophy completely changed to just some wide open, do what you want on offense, run the floor. And I'll push defense as best I can. But it's not showing up on the court. You can't just coast because you have 2 future NBA draft picks on the roster and expect to get where you want to go in this sport. The best basketball team I ever played on, and I didn't play long on into a storied career. I was more the type of kid who, wanted to do music and whatever in high school. I was one of those poet type kids, whatever. That's why I became a lawyer, not a ball player. But the best team I ever played on was at 5-Star Basketball Camp, which was run by the great Art Garfinkel. A lot of these kids go there. A lot of storied players went to that camp. It's a storied camp. I went out in Honesdale in the early 2000s for 2 years. And my second year there, they had 3 tiers: NIT, NCAA, and NBA. NBA was like the future superstar prospects. Like most of the biggest NBA stars you remember, a lot of them went through 5-Star Basketball Camp. So the best team I was on, we would do tryouts the first day, and then they would do a little draft, at night. And our coach told us that on paper, we were the worst team in the NCAA that year. But we wound up losing a tiebreaker for first place at the very end of the week in that basketball camp. And the reason we were the best team and we dominated so many teams, despite on paper being not that good, was we were relentless on defense, relentless setting screens, relentless getting our best players the ball to take the best shots. I had maybe 4 to 6 points a game because I wasn't one of the best offensive players, but I defended my ass off. I hustled my ass off. And basketball is a swarming type game. It's a game where if you can swarm as a team defensively and you can swarm as a team offensively, like a pack of vicious insects in that way, you can beat a lot of teams with more talented individuals than you because the game allows for it. The way the game is designed, you can swarm, double team guys, properly switch off, move the ball so fast that they don't know how to catch you. And it seems like teams have been masterful at doing that to Rutgers so far this year. Now, we've relied on our talent to get out 4-0 to start the season. But now, against a better team on the road, it proved to be too much. And this wasn't just a close loss. I know it was a close loss at the end of the scoreboard. I understand we lost by 2 points at the end. This team dominated us for a lot of this game. We were lucky we caught up the way we did, because that team played as a team, had a team identity, had a team philosophy, and we just showed up and thought we were going to beat them because of the individual talent on the team. And this coaching staff has got to figure out what this identity is, who it runs through, how it runs through them, and when it runs through them. When is this Zach Martini show? When is this Dylan Harper show? When is this Ace Bailey? It's not just whoever's got the hot hand. You keep finding it. And by the way, if it is, then at least tell that to the guys on the court so they know to give it to the hot hand and not take ill-advised shots to go on scoring droughts for as long as we do. We've seen this with teams that didn't have the same NBA fanfare and star ratings, right? I mean, even when in the Geo Baker years, we would sometimes get cocky and start trying to throw up alley-oops and take all these ill-advised shots whenever we got on a run, to the point that our runs and leads would really be fragile because we would start getting cocky too quick on offense and start going on scoring droughts. And as soon as we let off the pedal on the defense a little or another team got hot, they would catch right up. It's no different with this team. This team's just got more talent. But it's no different. It's the same Peichel type of team, except it doesn't have the trademark Peichel defense. It doesn't have the trademark Peichel leaders. It doesn't have the trademark Peichel rebounding. It doesn't have any of those things. It's just a team you put out on the floor that wants to act like Harlem Globetrotters and doesn't know what to do when they face a team that swarms them and gives them serious adversity. This should be a huge wake-up call. But if you think this team has a legitimate chance against Alabama, I don't know what to tell you. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this team knocks Alabama right in the dirt. But as a team, are they as good as the sum of their parts? As a team, are they a good enough team? I know they've got great players. I know they've got a coach who's done great things in the past. I know they've got assistant coaches who has done great things in the past. But as a team, are they a good team? Right now, no. They're a team full of great players. Great players who have willed us to a 4-1 record, but they're not yet a great or probably even good team. They're an okay team with great players. They need to rectify that. Now it gets real. It got real one game before we thought it was going to get real, and that's not good for the end of this season. We've seen it before when we lose games early in the year, how it could come back and haunt us and come back and bite us. In the play-in against Notre Dame, being left out the year after, it can come back and hurt us. And the Alchemist says they are not a top 25 team. These small teams have been giving Rutgers tough games down the wire when they should be blowing these teams out by 30, like a top 25 team would do. The offense has a strange flow. Coach Pike has to coach now. These last few years have been sparse. Exactly. I completely and utterly agree with you, Alchemist. And by the way, guys, we got some guys in here watching. Click subscribe if you're chilling. If you're watching, it's going to take a minimal effort. Just click that button right there. Let's grow the base. Super chats are open too. You want to donate to the channel? We're out here just BSing. Never required. Always appreciated. But it's true, right? Steve Peichel, over the last few years, that's what I mean. It seems like he's like, well, look, the recruiting's so good. This magical 2024-25 season is on the horizon. Everybody's hyping it up. Everybody's getting, believing their own hype, believing Rutgers hype. Everybody's getting so excited because this is the two best players, two highest ranked players we've had on this team. And I can just step back a little bit and let these guys figure it out. We're going to run the floor. We're going to increase our athleticism and our shooting prowess. And I'm not going to necessarily increase our shooting prowess by way of designing a better offense or getting better coaching to help with shooting. I'm going to improve our shooting prowess by simply recruiting good shooters. And I think just by recruiting good shooters, they'll figure it out somehow on the court. And I can just kind of relax a little. Defense, we care about it, but let's focus on. And Pike's getting away from who he is. I know everybody was clamoring for years that he really needed to be more offensive minded. That's where all sports are going these days, right? All sports are going that way. We got to be more offensive minded. I want offense. We need offense. Let's get offense. Blah, 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 blah. And defense gets left in the dust and other fundamental things. And Pike, for a long time, he resisted the temptation to move off of that, to move off of his defensive philosophies. But what he's done now is he hasn't adjusted to emphasize offense in any meaningful way as far as coaching or schematically. What he's done is he's just recruited a whole bunch of offensive oriented players and still doesn't really coach up offense or implement any kind of cohesive offensive system. He just thinks by way of recruiting offensive minded players, the offense is naturally going to be so good, but yet the defense is getting harmed and the rebounding is getting harmed. And without a cohesive offense, because you're not really an offensive minded coach and this is not really an offensive minded program, with the defense and the rebounding and the effort on that side falling behind, you're seeing that the team and the identity and culture of this program is in some ways eroding. And I don't mean it's eroding when you have two of the best recruits in history playing and we're on the upswing and we're ranked for the first time in a while and we still have a really good chance of making a deep run into the tournament, which we do, by the way. This loss doesn't change that. But the identity of the team has been eroded a lot. Pike has allowed his own cultural identity of this program and philosophy of this team to be eroded. It's not the same tough, developmental, defensive-minded team that it was. It's not the same tough, developmental, defensive-minded team that Pike found success with early on. And that's going to be a real problem if he doesn't get it fixed and he doesn't get it figured out. And maybe there needs to be accountability in some ways. If the team can't get it right. We had 14 steals to their 6. I don't know how, because that's the talent. But if you can't convert on those steals and the other team is, then it doesn't really matter. So you can have all the talent in the world to steal the ball, to make them commit turnovers. They had 21 turnovers, Kennesaw State. We had 9 turnovers. So how is the score so lopsided for so much of the game? Because they made the most of their possessions and they made us earn everything on the offensive side. And they put us to the test on the defensive side, and they won more times than they lost. And Ajax, 2 things. Deep inside of me, I want to say they rotate too many players. I understand you recruited all these role players, but how about teaching them to contest without fouling? More urgency. Yes, I agree. More urgency completely. And find a lineup based on accountability that's going to give you the best team on the floor. Maybe it's not the best players, but maybe it's the best team. Find out what that identity is. Find out who that combination is. Find that out and roll with that. Because again, how good this team is does not seem to be as good as the sum of all the parts of the team that are all very individually talented. Alchemist says, I like this 4-man recruiting class coming in. I don't mind 3-star recruits, but Pike has to identify natural scoring players. He recruits these defensive players that are poor offensive players. I mean, I don't think the guys on this team are particularly very good at defense. I think that's part of the problem. I don't think these dudes are great on defense. I think this might be one of the weakest defensive teams we've seen under Pike. And I think it started last year when he tried to convert the philosophy. And if you want to change philosophies and emphasize offense more from a philosophical or schematic standpoint, by all means, go start reiterating your team to a more offensive team schematically. But if your answer is just to recruit offensive-minded guys for a defensive-minded coach, and then you're not going to get them to be good defenders, then you're really just paddling upstream the wrong way. I totally understand getting offensively talented players and putting them in position to succeed defensively, but you've also got to emphasize their strength, which is offense, and you've got to do something schematically and philosophically to help them succeed where they're good. What I'm seeing is a defensive-minded coach with offensive players who's not coaching them up offensively and isn't getting enough out of them on the defensive side of the ball. And what you see is a team that looks disjointed and inexperienced and young, which they are, but find a way to find the best combinations and make it work for now so you can grind out these games instead of relying on guys' raw talent to just miraculously pull you out of a hole. And this game, Ace Bailey almost, and Dylan Harper almost did miraculously pull us out of a hole. There were some really great shots down the stretch, and they almost miraculously pulled us out of a hole, but they were unable to do it when the rubber met the road. They were unable to get it over the hump because you can't rely on them to just miraculously pull us out of a hole. You got to do something a little better than that. You can see the drastic difference of seniority and experience of the other team versus our team, Ignacio says. And I agree. Now, that's something that's hard to get around because that's something I really think that you actually can't blame the coaching staff for, because what you see, you're not going to say no to 3 super talented freshmen. You find, and if they're only going to be here for 1 year, you don't have the luxury like you did in years past with some of Pikel's teams, like Geo Bakers and the Caleb McConnells and the Ron Harpers of the world. You don't have the luxury of limiting their playing time and letting them kind of learn gradually and then unleashing them in their sophomore or junior years. You don't have that luxury. You have to use the raw talent you have now. And Pike, it seems, really tried to surround those guys with senior players who were really experienced and at the top of their games and teams where they came from. And he's assembled a group of those guys who should really be able to steady the ship. And what you're seeing is like a guy like Zach Martini the last 2 games has completely disappeared. And Tyson Acuff barely getting any run. Dirk Hack fails at the free throw line pretty brutally at the end of this game, or midway through the 4th, when we really could have gotten over the hump and we were unable to do so. And Hayes hits a 3 there, but there's nobody, I think, even when you go with the seniors, who's an alpha. And I think part of the problem is I think you really had to push for an alpha superstar big man, or at least a quasi star, a Cliff caliber, or maybe one level below player at the 5 who was going to be a senior who also had the ability, prowess, and resume to take the reins of the team. And it looks like and seems like this team was designed perception-wise and literally to be Ace and Dylan's team and Ethan Somerville's team from the very beginning. And I understand how big of stars they are. And I understand how talented they are. And I understand that they're going to the NBA. And I understand that they're single-handedly responsible for rearranging the entire sneaker and endorsement deal. I'm not naive to the way modern sports works. I'm not naive to how talented these young men are. I'm not giving up. I'm still excited about these young men. I'm still excited about this season. However, you still needed probably a veteran who could take the reins. These guys are great veterans with experience and all of those things, but they don't have the alpha mentality or the resume to take charge of the team. And so therefore, this is really a freshman-led team. And I really think Dylan Harper is probably the leader of the team. I said it last show. That is there a go-to guy? And if there is a go-to guy, who is that go-to guy? It's probably Dylan Harper. But you saw today that even Dylan is a kid still. Even Dylan is getting used to the pace of the game. And the way he took the ball to the hole several times before the end wasn't the way you need to do it, and especially not going to be the way you need to do it in the Big Ten. A more physical league that's tougher down low. You don't take it up there with finger rolls and look for a call. There's differences, and I don't think that there's anybody on this team who's going to take charge and give accountability to his teammates at this stage. Somebody has to, whether that's Dylan growing up really fast, or whether that's one of the older guys, or whether that's Pikel mixing up the lineup to put somebody like that on the floor. It has to be done. Because this team is not a team at all right now. It's a bunch of really talented guys running around, and sometimes they turn it up on the defensive side of the ball, and sometimes they move the ball really well with each other and get fancy on the offensive side of the ball, and sometimes they don't. And when they don't, and other teams are swarming and playing like a team, any team could really beat us. And we saw that in a little bit of a scare against St. Peter's at home, and we saw it today when we got beat by Kennesaw State on the road. Any team could beat us, let alone the ranked teams, let alone tournament teams, let alone Big Ten teams. Any team can beat this team when it's not playing like a team. Sometimes they play like they're a pickup team that just got organized on the court today. And that's just not good enough. Guys, click subscribe if you're in here. There's a good amount of people listening. Click that subscribe button. Join Night Watch on a very rough weekend for Rutgers fans. Join Night Watch. I'll be doing more live shows. I'm doing reaction shows. I'm here to talk to you and be objective, although I'm sorry. I do apologize to my listeners that my emotions have gotten to me a little bit this weekend. I mean, I've been a little more animated than I usually am, and it's because this school has really frustrated me this weekend. Really a rough weekend for Rutgers fans who care about things here. Really. William Billy J says, kind of hate this team, LK. Weak, and it's shown in every game except the first one. Now I got to go to Vegas and watch this crap in person. Anyone want free tickets? Well, William, get out there and cheer. I think you're going to have a good time in Vegas. Some good food out there, some good times out there. Vegas is never that much of a letdown one way or another, right? Just don't put too much money on anything, and then you really get let down. Go have fun in Vegas. Get one of those frozen drinks they got, walk around the strip, go to Old Vegas. That's where the real action is anyway. Look, this team, all is not lost for this team, but I agree that this team has shown some weakness. Now, they tried to rebound, late in this game and make a comeback, and there was a bit of an effort, but I think if that effort had been more consistent on both sides of the ball and more focused and led better by a coach philosophically and schematically from the beginning, that they would have had much better results. And at this point, they're just blindly relying on hype and talent, and it's not going to get us there. So I understand that. The Alchemist back at it. This is embarrassing. Most around the country did not believe in this team, and this will confirm to everyone across the country. I was not blown away by the players brought in. I understand NIL. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hype in Rutgers land about this team. And like I say it, I don't mean to have that look of disgust. Like, I understand being excited because it's exciting, right? This is exciting. But I think one thing that, if you watched my videos leading up to the season, or anybody who's talked to me at tailgates, picked my brain, I've been met with a lot of people coming up to me kind of saying, oh, but the basketball team, at least we got basketball. And kind of leaving me like feeling a little dejected because I wasn't on the hype train so quickly about, how far it was going to go. Like it was going to be the most amazing season ever. Still can be. But the fact that you have two really talented, and you can't understate the amount of talent and potential that these two young men have. You can't. And nor am I trying to understate the amount of talent that these two young men have. But the fact that you're just bringing in two supremely talented young men does not make a team a legitimate contender, which is why we found ourselves at the very end of the rankings to start this season. That means we are 25th or 24th favorite team to actually win it all early in the season based on, I know it's not the Ken Palm, it's not the actual rankings, but still based on the ranking that we have. And the hype on this team as if we were a shoo-in for those things, I didn't understand because I talked about it last year, right? When we were struggling and we continued to struggle, I talked about when Jeremiah Williams came back and we went on that little run, that what we're trying to do last year was build the foundation so that when these young and talented players step in the building, they're stepping into a system and a team that already has a foundation and already hits the ground running and has stability and a mechanism philosophically and schematically for these young men to succeed within. And I think what unfortunately happened was after we lost the final seniors, Paul Mulcahy and Caleb McConnell kind of left the program, and now you had Cliff leave. You lost the foundation and the structure upon which this team was built. And you kind of had to build it from scratch on the fly. And I understand, Alchemist said he understands NIL. I understand that that's the new way of college basketball and college sports in general. It's almost like a team of free agents every year, and you see who can succeed. But that's going to work for some teams who can assemble an absolute beastly roster top to bottom on the fly. And it's not only important to get talented individuals, but guys that fit together in an overall, vision for a team for a year. And some coaches are going to be better at forming a vision for a team on the fly and putting together that team on the fly in 1 year. And other coaches are going to struggle doing it. And Pikel's strength has always been building up a team by developing players into defensive beasts. I mean, he basically remade Caleb McConnell's career from somebody who wanted to be an offensive player to a Big Ten player of the year because he remolded him into this defensive beast and he was able to develop him. And you're seeing now a coach who lost the foundational pieces to his program in a lot of ways and had to try to build a team on the fly. And I like the pieces that we got. And I like the pieces that we brought in. I truly, truly do like them. But I worried that there wasn't going to be a structure for these guys to come into and succeed in. And it's looking like that actually might be a legitimate concern now as we're 5 games into the season. And there seem to be real fissures here in the armor of this team. And part of it is that there was no real structure. It kind of fell apart last year. And you have this year starting from scratch, and you don't really know what the philosophy is, who the leader is, who the go-to is, and what the direction is of the team. You've assembled a lot of talent, but you haven't necessarily built it up in the right regiment. You can get the best shooters ever and put them in a battle battalion, right? But if you don't have the best sniper at the back or up in the tree sniping, and you don't have the best, hand-to-hand combat or close range infantrymen up at the front where he needs to be, and you don't have the best officer commanding them on how to make movements, then it doesn't matter how good or talented they are if they're not in position to succeed and use their talents in the best ways possible. And just like Coach Giano with the football team had to go back to the drawing board in the bye week, I think that Coach Peichel, in a short turnaround, getting ready for this tournament in Vegas, needs to, on the plane or whatever, get to the drawing board. Who's playing? Who's not? What's our philosophy? What are we going to implement? How do we correct this? How do we put these talented individuals and build them into the best team possible? Because you can't just go out there and be Harlem Globetrotters every night and expect to win and win consistently in D1 basketball. And Alchemist says he was hoping Jeremiah Williams would be that leader. So was I. And there's glimpses of Jeremiah, but he's not even really starting anymore. And he's had struggles on both ends of the ball himself. And if he's not it, then who is? It could still be young man Dylan. But he's got to own that role. He's got to lead by example. Teams ranked 300 and above should never have a player pour in 39 points at the rack. That cannot happen. No one could stop this guy at all, but I guess the Big Ten has some better ballers. The Big Ten, when you look at where our weaknesses are, and that's the other thing. I was talking to somebody, recently, saying, we're going to struggle without that dominant 5 player. And they said, yeah, but all we got to do is get to the tournament, because once you get to the tournament, everybody likes to play small ball, and they got all these guards running around, and we've long struggled to deal with guards, so our team might be better positioned to do that. But 2 things. One, it doesn't look like we're better positioned to do that so far, because teams with better guards who can shoot from the outside have absolutely dominated the crap out of us like they have in years past. So now it's starting to look like, is it really a players thing? For so long we thought, well, we need, and that's the NIL thing too, right? That's the NIL. Let's talk about NIL, because everybody wants to say Rutgers doesn't have NIL. The reason we don't succeed, we don't have NIL. We're never going to have NIL. But okay, look at this team. You have the best recruiting class you could probably have at any school, let alone Rutgers. So NIL, you can't blame NIL for this team, this recruiting. And all of a sudden, what matters? Coaching. Coaching matters. The direction of the team matters now, all of a sudden. And what are you going to do with it? You're like, okay, NIL, this, that. You should build a team. You know what you're up against. You have to get through the Big Ten Conference. So you should be looking at, how do we get through the Big Ten Conference, number 1. And number 2, how do we combat our weaknesses that have long been guards that can shoot and are faster than us, dominating us? At what point does it become coaching and not the players? For so long, like I said, back to my original point, we don't have the talent. We don't have the talent on this team. This team's just not talented. There's not enough good players on this team. These guys just aren't good. What can Pike do with these guys? They're just not talented. These other teams are just more talented. Well, who's more talented now? Why are the problems the same? Why are we getting dominated by teams that shoot and destroy us from beyond the arc? And why are we losing down low. Why? The talent got better. Why is it consistent with different players with the same problem? So now you have to design a team to get through the Big Ten to put yourself in a position to get into the tournament. And then you have to find a way to win in the tournament. But if your whole thing was, well, we're going to just get, take the Big Ten as, of course, we're going to get through them and just start planning for the tournament, but you're in for a rude awakening because this Big Ten schedule ain't going to be playing with us. If we're struggling with these teams, we are going to have big, big problems with Big Ten schedule. So nothing is a given this year. Nothing is a guarantee this year. Not one iota. Nothing is a guarantee this year at all. At all. Alchemist, can Pike put a team together because the past 3 years have failed per personnel issue year after year? I think that's really starting to be coming down. Now, whether he can put a team together in terms of actually just recruiting the players, maybe. But whether he can build a team from the ground up with the right players in the right positions with an overall vision for a team, that remains to be seen. Money Mitch, shout out to you, my brother. You're always on the show. Sup, LK, get heartbroken by the football team, and now we have to deal with this. Yup. What a terrible weekend this has been. I agree with you there. They have the number 2 and 3 players in the country. It looks like Pike has this team completely unprepared for anyone with a pulse. He's bad on the road in OOC games. Neutral sites, he struggled. It's a trend now. It's not just the players anymore. You got to start looking at the coach. And there go our tournament hopes. I don't think those are the end of the tournament hopes, but they certainly don't help. Same story every year. We beat some great teams, but continue to lose to bad teams. Yeah, that's, again, the players have changed. What's remained the same? Mark, Larry, I've been saying all along, we have no true Big Ten center. Mark, you are completely 100% right. Anybody with any brain knew that going into the season. I know the staff wanted to give excuses. I don't know what the real reason was. Was it really Somerville saying he didn't want it? And I still think Somerville is going to be a very good player. I still think Somerville is going to be a very good player going into the future. He's going to continue to develop. He's going to be a very good player for us this year. But was that part of it? Because we certainly needed a dominant alpha center this year. We didn't get one. Or was it that simply no center wanted to come here? And, did Cliff leave? I know it was maybe the right time for Cliff to go, but Cliff wanted to go probably be coached better on offense, and he wasn't getting it here. And we're starting to see the same problems this year once again. The Alchemist, they might not make the tournament. If not, Coach Pike's seat will become red hot. If they don't make the tournament with this team, his seat should be scorching. Scorching like Santa getting in the wrong chimney with a hot fire burning on Christmas Eve. There's no way in hell you cannot make the tournament with this team in this one-off chance and not have a hot seat. Now, this isn't the end of the year where we're on the bubble. This isn't the end of the year where I start really talking about coach being on the hot seat. This is one loss, okay? Losses happen, even to good teams. This could be a wake-up call for this team. They could come back and win the next 2 games, and no one's going to care about Kennesaw anymore, and we're going to be hyped as hell. But to ignore this performance, especially because this performance is not an anomaly. That's the main thing, right? This is not an anomaly. This is not an anomaly, this performance. This is kind of a performance we've unfortunately seen, right? We've seen this performance throughout the first couple games, and now it results in a loss where we kind of got by and snuck out on talent the first 4 games. So there's a difference between this being an anomaly and saying get over the loss and this looking like it's indicative of a broader trend that doesn't bode well for the season. So people are right to be concerned. People are right to be critical. People are right to start talking about these issues with coaching and things that have reared their head now over and over again. But this is not the time to, give up totally or start really discussing, Pike being out of here or whatever. This is the best team he's had. He's done well for us, and now he's on the the upward trajectory with these recruiting classes, the one coming in and the one we have on the floor right now. But he's got to find a way to get us in the tournament. No ifs, ands, or buts, and these type of losses really can't be happening. It better get much better very, very quick. That's just a fact. It's just a fact. So, just a brutal loss for this team. And I just, to kind of reiterate it all, first half, 44-26 going into that. I mean, what are we doing? 18 points going into the half. In the second half, we outscored them 51-35. So we came back in the second half, but it was too little too late. And it was too little too late because the team still didn't really know, I don't believe, where exactly to go for consistency and how to be consistent and how to stay consistent. The team still seemed like it was kind of up in the air, not knowing exactly what to do. And that's a problem. Alchemist Pike loves scheduling these teams ranked 300 and above, but we get beat by them. Just schedule decent teams. So if you lose, does not feel like this. I agree with that. This was kind of a commemorative type game, right? This was the Rocky IV, Apollo Creed, going in there with the American shorts, doing the dance and everything else, a little exhibition, a little fun, mess with the guys, and then you get knocked out pretty bad. This was the homecoming, for Ace and J Mike, and we're going to head down there, fun, fanfare, wave to the people on our way to tour Vegas, on our national tour of how great we are. Yeah, it was a big mistake when you got your butt kicked. You get your butt kicked on TV on a Sunday. Lucky football's on. No one's really paying attention. Just checking the scores later. Like, what the hell happened to Rutgers? You're lucky. Lucky it's a 2-point loss. When they look at the scorecard, they only see 2 points. Wow, what an upset. Instead of seeing what really happened that game, which was an embarrassment. Abysmal. Coming back from 21 down was a great silver lining, but they need to beam in on the lack of team rebounding. The subs him and out, it starts all over. Yeah. When you sub out and you screw it up, the momentum, that's another recurring theme, isn't it? It's another recurring theme. But, they came back, and that's great because they have raw talent. They have raw talent that's hard to keep down for very long. But they didn't have the team talent, team philosophy to claw back and actually make it count and get over the hump and stick to it. And that's a real problem. And that's unfortunate. That's the best way I could put it. The nicest and kindest way I could put it is that it's unfortunate. Unfortunate. That's really all I can say about it. It's unfortunate. And J Mike disappeared. Yeah. I mean, look, he's been in and out for his career. He plays well and then he doesn't. I mean, I just don't know who the go-to is on this team right now. Because you got 2 young, very talented players, but they're young. And they're not every game they're going to be the best. Harper still had a steady 21 points. Bailey, 17 points. Agbole, 10. But then it kind of falls off from there. You don't have the supporting cast scoring. And probably because you're just relying on these talented guys to win the game for you. And if they're not going above and beyond and really on and scoring, well higher than 20, then you really don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. So that the hype has ended with this team. There's no more hype. Forget the hype. Forget how amazing it's going to be. Forget, at least we got basketball. Oh, basketball. Check out those guys. Oh, the basketball team. You're not going to be able to get a ticket. Oh, the ticket sold out. Everybody's excited. Oh, the show, the greatest show. And enough of that crap. It's over. They lost to Kennesaw State, all right? They lost to Kennesaw State. It's over. It's over. Get real now. All right? You're one of the teams. You're fighting through the Big Ten schedule. You're fighting for a tournament spot. Enough of this hype. You're not on a tour. You're not on a notoriety fanfare tour. You got a tournament to play, and you're the underdog. Get with it. Get with it. Kennesaw fan, welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Congratulations on the win. Big win. Guys moved to 5-1. Looking pretty good. Taking the world by storm a little bit. Excellent crowd. Got hyped. Got loud. Congratulations to you on the win. I thought the comeback was happening. Won't lie. I mean, yeah, it was looking like it might. It was certainly looking like it might. And I certainly thought it was when we cut the lead down to 5 multiple times. I thought the comeback was happening. And I thought the comeback was happening when we cut the lead to 5 and then Kennesaw was in foul trouble really early. And we were going to go start shooting every time we got fouled. And then when Durkak missed several free throws and it looked like Kennesaw just wasn't going to drop the ball at all and was going to keep coming relentlessly and find shots and find a way to stay on top, my hope started to fade. And my hope got back up when we pressed and we came up with those baskets and we cut the lead down to 2. I really thought the comeback was almost inevitable. And then I really hated that call. I don't care if it was Rutgers, I would have been happy because I'm a Rutgers fan, but objectively, I still would have hated that call. I just don't think you call those kind of things at that point in the game. And even then, he misses the free throws, and it's Ace Bailey who, in our team, and I think it was Martini down there, couldn't hang on to the ball, and then good defense too, good defense with the Kennesaw player to kind of reject that pass, and it doesn't happen. As time got down, desperation kind of kicked in, and I wasn't sure it was going to happen at all, quite frankly. And not necessarily because Rutgers didn't have the talent, but more so because Rutgers didn't have the team philosophy or vision to be able to figure out a way to fight and gut through that and close out the game. I just didn't believe that. And Justin says with the, go play with the dog. You got the dog on the thing there. It looks like a cute dog. I'm so emotionally drained. I hate how much attachment I have to my teams. No joy ever comes of it. You're 100% right. There's very little joy. Not just, everybody says. You're a Jets fan, you say. You're a Rutgers fan, you say. You're a Giants fan, you say it, even though you won championships. Anybody. Sports, the fact is sports don't really bring a lot of people joy much time. It's like we follow it because the few times you do get the joy are so, the euphoria is so intense just because it's so rare and because you're so used to the disappointment that you chase that dopamine like crazy, and we all do it. And it's a sad state of affairs. Sports people are a sad bunch, but I guess we have some fun for some reason. I think it's fun, honestly. This is my philosophical craziness coming out, but I think it's like the way we can focus in on something that at the moment feels like almost life and death serious to us, even though it's really not. Like immersing yourself in that as opposed to worrying about all the other things going on in your life or all the other things going on in the world that maybe are even more impactful, that gives you like a real engagement into something that if you come out victorious, even on that afternoon, you feel so good as if you've really accomplished something. But on the other hand, when you lose, it feels the exact opposite. So sports fandom is quite interesting. It really is. But it is quite emotionally draining, especially when you're rooting for a team like this. Really tough. He missed 3. Those could have won the game. Yeah. 100% those could have won the game. Yeah, look at it, man. You're right. You won by 2. And you missed 3 free throws that early when you're kind of you have a real chance to close the gap completely. Kennesaw is in really bad foul trouble, and Rutgers only has about 3 team fouls at that point. So you've got a big discrepancy in fouls right there, and you don't capitalize by missing 3 free throws and then fouling on the other side. I just think that's pivotal. That's pivotal. I was saying it as I was watching the game that was pivotal. That's a real shame that he couldn't convert at least another 2 of those, right? So, yeah, really, really pivotal stuff and good point. Congrats to the other team. Huge win for them. Complete debacle for Rutgers. Yeah, I mean, look, there's another team on the other side, and every team that we've played this year has given us, their best punch. And some of these players and teams are pretty good. I mean, basketball has an equalizing effect that football doesn't really have, where you could have 3 individual stars in football, but it's still hard to get over the hump if you don't have the O-line or the defense or whatever. You're not all on the field at the same time all the time. You don't always have access to the ball. Basketball is different. You're a talented guy who can shoot the ball lights out. You can do things like that. I mean, you can be an equalizer. And these teams that we've played had given us their best shot. And Kennesaw State's a good team, in my opinion. I mean, they're 5-1. From what I understand, they might not have been favored to win their conference, but they're taking it by storm a little bit. That's a solid basketball team. You're going into their gym, and you think they're going to play with you? Would we play with a team? Did we play with teams back when we were, where we were and big time teams came in there? Did we play with Miami when they were ranked and they came into the rack however many years ago, 2010 or whatever it was? Did we play with Purdue when they were ranked number 1? Yeah, you think that's a bigger gym too. We were in the Big Ten already and Purdue came in. You think Kennesaw State's playing with these kids? These superstars that left the state? Go to Rutgers on their little fan tour coming into that smaller gym? You think that those fans and that team is playing games with Rutgers? Hell no, they're not playing no games with Rutgers. I'm going to give Rutgers a salute, they're not going to coronation. They ain't doing that. About to punch Rutgers in the mouth. And that's what they did. And until Rutgers gets that mentality, they're going to punch other people in the mouth. Rutgers ain't going to go very far. Because every team's coming in wants to punch Rutgers in the mouth. I'm telling you that right now. Every team wants to punch Rutgers in the mouth. Shut them up. It's the national pundits. It's the Jersey people. It's the AAU circuit. Rutgers this, Rutgers that. Everybody wants to punch Rutgers in the mouth. And they're going to continue to punch them in the mouth until they stand up for themselves. Including today, they're giving up an average of over 68 points a game. It's not a Pikel defense. On the positive, this could be the best wake-up call they've got. I agree with you. I said it when we scored the 98 points. Like, it's great to score 98 points, but what the hell? Why do we have to score 98 points? That's brutal. Hey, guys, if you're in here, whether you're a Kennesaw fan, Rutgers fan, just passing through, can you do me a favor? Click that subscribe button. Click that subscribe button on a Sunday. Helps me out immensely. I need to get to 1,000 subscribers. Helps a lot of things improve for this channel. Click that subscribe button. It's much appreciated while you're in here. And, if you're just stopping through, I still appreciate the subscription. I really do. I put out content pretty frequently about Rutgers, also Big Ten stuff, relationships with a lot of other people from other schools and things, and we do a lot of collabs, so I really appreciate the subscription. Thank you very much. Yeah, not a Pike defense, and that's part of the problem. You recruit a bunch of offensive players, but you don't coach them up on offense, and then you're struggling to get them on the same page on defense. It spells a lot of trouble. Right science fiction. This hype train of Dylan and Ace needs to stop. Just focus on playing fundamental D and rebounding. We got destroyed on the boards. Couldn't agree more, and I completely agree. Enough of the coronation, enough of the Nike shoe contracts and the poster boards and talking about how many seats and tickets are sold. Start playing basketball. Start defending. Start rebounding. Start getting real. Start playing some ball here and knock it off. That's about all I could say. I mean, start getting real. Alchemist, these teams should not be playing us this close. I watch other top 25 teams handle their business on these games. We have played close each time. Yep, we're not handling our business in really any way. Mr. Shake, cool little avatar, Mr. Shake. Great wake-up call for these guys. RU came out asleep in the first half and got punched in the face. Don't burn this tape. Replay it over and over. We will see how they respond before panicking. Yeah, I agree with you. This is a great chance for them to respond and wake up and not stop believing their own hype. Let's hope that they do it, and let's hope they stop believing their own hype. Ace and Dylan have looked tired and winded these first few games. It's going to take time. This team needs to overcome adversity. This isn't AAU anymore. Hopefully it serves as the smelling salts. Yeah, I agree 150%. This is not AAU. This is not high school. You the best player in your 8th grade team. You go to the freshman year, you're young. Your best player in your senior team, you go to college. This is what happens. They're still supremely talented. They're NBA caliber players. No one's denying that. They have great, epic talent, but you don't win in this league and in college in general on talent alone. You win by playing as a team, having the right philosophies, and knowing what you're going to do. That's how you win. So, a lot of work to do for this team. A heck of a lot of work to do for this team. And that's just the way it is here. Guys, I really appreciate you tuning in to the live show, the post game. I'm going to do more live shows going forward. The best thing you could do to help support the channel is just click that subscribe button. Anybody interested in sponsorships and things of that nature, go ahead and do that. Anybody throws down donations or super chats, that also supports the channel. I will be back doing live and doing more content and review videos very soon. We'll have more review on the epic crumbling of the football team yesterday. We'll have more discussion about the basketball team. I hope you enjoy a nice Thanksgiving week. I hope you have a nice Thanksgiving, although the chances are I'm going to talk to you before then. But thank you for joining me on the live. Once more on your way out, please click that subscribe button if you haven't clicked it already. Getting the subscriptions up also helps the channel. And I'm trying to grow this channel. I'm trying to give it its own lane, its own vibe, its own community. And you guys are the very beginnings and start of that community and that vibe. So you are so very much appreciated. I will be back with you soon. Try to enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully your NFL team won. Hopefully you can enjoy your Sunday anyway. It's time to unplug from Rutgers sports for at least 24 hours, I think, for all of us and all of our sanity. But if you can't do that, make sure you check out some of the other awesome content creators and writers out here in the Rutgers community. Obviously, the Night Report, Mike and Richie and Alec, and those guys do an excellent job. Obviously, the Scarlet Faithful and Aaron and Anderson and all those guys over there. And the NJ.com guys, I'm a big fan of as well. So make sure you tune into all those guys. And John, really appreciate you. I will be doing more live shows. Just got to keep the channel growing. Keep it making sense for me to do it. And you guys are part of that. So thank you for the continued support. And try to enjoy, like I said, the rest of your week and tune into those other Rutgers content creators. I'm sure they have a bunch of breakdowns, etc. Hey, make sure you share this channel with your family and friends who are Rutgers fans. Post this in your Rutgers message boards. Post this in Rutgers sites. Post this on Rutgers fan pages, Rutgers social media. Let's get the word out about our community here on Night Watch. Let's get the word out about the way Larry K approaches the analysis and discussion of Rutgers sports. Let's spread the word about this channel and this platform, and let's keep it all rolling. We will survive. We will get through this, guys. Much love, much appreciation for everybody who tuned in. I will talk to you all very soon. Until next time, hopefully on a much better day for Rutgers sports. Larry K is out. Good night, everybody.
I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all